Hey, what's up everybody? This is Osterberg501 and today I want to go over the roadmap that we have finally gotten for Lost Ark, and this roadmap covers April and May content releases. So first off, we have April, and the first thing we are getting is a new martial artist advanced class, the Glaivier, which is the Lance Master from other regions. It's a pretty odd naming choice. Practicing an artistic and deadly form of martial arts, the Glaivier slices and dices her way through the battlefield, weaving together attacks with her spear and glaive. The Glaivier has two distinct skill sets which can be swapped between Focus and Flurry, with each stance and skill set being represented by one of her two weapons. The shorter spear is used to unleash a furious barrage in the Flurry stance, but the longer glaive harnesses Focus stance for gracefully lethal strikes and sweeping attacks. While certain builds may focus your attention onto one of these weapons, an effective Glaivier can maximize the potential by creating balance between the two stances, building up energy in one stance which grants an impactful stat boost when swapping to the other. The Glaivier will join the War Dancer, Soulfist, Striker, and Scrapper as the 5th Martial Artist Advanced class. And the Lance Master, or what we're going to call it the Glaivier, which I don't think anybody's going to call it the Glaivier, is one of the most requested classes in the game. I think this is a class that a lot of people wanted, and it's honestly pretty surprising that we're getting this as the first class release, but this is a very good thing, and I think this will satisfy a lot of people because a lot of people want this to be their main class. So next up, we are getting a new continent of South Vern. This is also going to be in April, and South Vern will join Punica as the second tier 3 continent, requiring an item level of 1340 to begin. So you have to be in tier 3 at 1340 to go do South Vern, and I don't think a lot of players will have an issue at least getting the 1340 to be able to do South Vern. Now there are some additional pieces of content that are very important on this continent. The first being the South Vern Chaos Dungeons, which you can kind of think of as an Anguish Island 2.0. So there's a daily quest that you just go kill some enemies for, exactly like Anguish Isle, and completing this daily quest will give you some entrance keys to enter this South Vern Chaos Dungeon. And it's similar to a Chaos Dungeon, just with some objectives on the map. Pretty simple, pretty easy to do, and you'll be getting currency from completing this. Now this currency can be spent at a new vendor just like Anguish Isle, and this vendor has a ton of loot and resources on it. You can get tons of tier 3 materials, whether it be armor or weapon stones, tons of leap stones. I think there's some engraving books and some other additional loot. It is a ton of loot. It is legacy content, so if you're somebody that doesn't play a lot of alts, stuff like this that's legacy content so you can only get it once per roster is actually incredibly powerful. So this is used to heavily boost up one character. And the second thing, which we don't know if we're getting with this, is also the bridge. I don't know what this would be called in our region, but essentially this is kind of a juiced up tier 3 version of the towers that we have for tier 1 and tier 2. I think in the other regions this was released with Valtan, which is the first Legion raid, but this is also legacy content, so it's only one time per roster, and every single level you do gives a ton of resources. There are levels that give you like 250 tier 3 leap stones just from doing one level. And another difference between this and the towers we have is that if you want to jump up levels, so say if you go in and complete level 10, you will actually get the rewards for all of the levels below level 10. So depending on how geared you are, you can actually just jump up a bunch of levels, get a ridiculous amount of resources in one go. And both of these things are legacy content, like I mentioned, so once per roster. And these are both heavily used to boost up one character that's in tier 3. So again, if you're somebody that doesn't like playing a lot of alts, this is going to be very good for you. Then there are some more general updates. So South Vern and the Glaivier Advanced class are not the only things that will arrive in April. Stay tuned in the coming weeks for more release specifics, such as login rewards, in-game events, skins, and store updates, and a Fates and Power Pass that provides item level 960 gear to level your new Glaivier or any other character you like. Then there's also some quality of life improvements, which are improved co-op party play for secret maps. All 4 players can submit a map to get rewards with one run. If you don't know what this is the maps you get from your Chaos Gate runs. So your treasure maps where you go in, kill the boss, and get some loot. This is a quality of life fix to completely avoid people getting scammed. So right now, what you'd have to do, you group up in a group of 4, and then you would just go one by one and go to each of your maps. Now what can happen there is someone can join your group. After you take them to a few maps, they just leave and don't do their map, or they never had a map. With this, you all 4 submit a map, and then it takes you to one map and you get 4 times the rewards. So you can't be scammed. Chat tab settings are shared across a player's roster, and improved book of coordination settings can use skill presets, tripod levels, skill runes, gems, item sets, etc. So just some good quality of life settings. And also the fate and power pass that we just went over, this is something similar to what we got at the start of our launch, where once you got a character to 50 and completed Vern, you would then get a power pass to boost another character up to Vern. This is the same thing with this. So you're going to boost a character up to Phaeton, and that character will have completed all of that content. So all you have to do on this character is gear it up to 1100, and then that character is now in tier 3, and it starts at 960. So you just have to go from 960 to 1100 to get to tier 3, and you don't have to go do any of the main quests until you get into tier 3. Now for the May roadmap, it's a little bit different because some of this content is labeled as tentative, so it could possibly change, it could possibly come out earlier, or possibly be pushed back depending on what the player base want, or depending on when the developers think this content should be released. Now first off, we have another new class, which is the Destroyer, which is one of the warrior classes. The Destroyer is a big 2-handed mace wielder. Now this new class is not labeled as tentative, so this is a guarantee we're getting it in May. And this also starts the trend of releasing a new advanced class every month, which I'll assume is probably going to continue because I think people want new classes much quicker than Smilegate originally was talking about, because there was an interview before our version came out where they were saying they plan on releasing new classes every 2 to 3 months, but now it's seeming to be once a month. So we've talked about the cataclysmic impact that warriors have on the battlefield, but nothing embodies this better than the hammer-wielding Destroyer. Armed with a variety of skills centered around charging into the heart of the fray, their hammer attacks are so catastrophically crushing that Destroyers can bend gravity to their will, slowing, launching, pushing, and pulling enemies, whatever it takes to utterly, beyond a shadow of a doubt, destroy them. The Destroyer will join the Berserker, Paladin, and Gunlancer as the 4th warrior advanced class. Now I'm wondering if this class is going to be reworked by the time we get it, because Destroyer is kind of a dead class in the game right now in general, and I think is one of the classes first slated to have a big rework. So I'm wondering if that's going to be reworked by the time we get it in May. Then we're getting Trial Guardian Raids. Trial Guardian Raids will add a new weekly activity for players looking for a challenge. Each week, players can attempt to defeat 3 Trial Guardians. Every Guardian has their own required item level to enter, and each week one Guardian will rotate out, replaced by a different foe. Differing from a normal Guardian Raid, Trial Guardian Raids will apply Scale of Harmony so that your character's item level will be adjusted appropriately to that enemy. Additionally, players cannot use the Battle Workshop in the raid region. However, with increased challenge comes increased rewards. Rewards for each challenged Guardian can be obtained once per roster per week and offer more diverse rewards than normal Guardians. So essentially what these are is scaled Guardian Raids, and there's 3 different ones, and you have to have an item level to join each one. So I assume tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to play out, but they're scaled and it cycles out different Guardians. So say if you're on a tier 3 character, you can go fight against tier 1 Guardians and be scaled to that. So it's pretty much a way to refight those lower tier and lower gear bosses, but at a scaled level. Now the rewards from these are pretty massive because they are weekly, one time per character. And what you get are pretty much a bunch of selection chests for resources, engravings, tons of different chests you get from these. And all these chests are roster bound, so you can put them in your roster storage, put them on any character. And then when you open the chest, you get to choose what rewards you want. So say if you get a bunch of resource chests, you can choose if you want tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 resources out of them. So say if you're trying to gear up a new tier 2 character, you can do all 3 of these Guardian Raids on any character you want, but then you can put them in your roster storage and select all of the tier 2 mats. And again, this is more content that is more designed for people that don't play a lot of alt, because this is a ton of resources that can only be done once per week per roster. So you can't get more resources the more alts you have. And this is another really big infusion of materials and loot in general. Then for some general updates, May will also include a bunch of quality of life changes, including the ability to check daily and weekly content participation in a new menu, UI updates, improved party finder and party invites, updated loot dismantling, convenience features for the market and auction house, and a few fun features like being able to randomly summon favorited mounts and new hairstyles for customization. So there's a ton of quality of life coming in May. So first off, the ability to check daily and weekly content. This is pretty massive. So this will have all of your different characters and you'll easily be able to check what they have already completed on a daily and weekly basis. So say if you're trying to look through your characters to see who's done their chaos dungeons, you can easily see that. You can easily see who's done their weekly abyss dungeons. So a big quality of life feature that anybody who plays a lot of characters or even just one character is going to be very happy with. And then also you now can favorite mounts and then just use a randomizer. WoW has this exact same thing as well. So it'll just summon one of your favorited mounts randomly, which is definitely a pretty nice feature. And we're getting new hairstyles, which I think just came out in Korea. Some of these quality of life features actually just came out in Korea and the other regions. So it seems like they're trying to keep us up to date, or at least somewhat up to date on the quality of life features. Now this next content is what is labeled under tentative. So it can possibly be moved out of May or maybe be pushed to earlier on in May. And the first thing we're getting is a new Guardian raid, Discalda, I think it's pronounced. And this is just going to be a new Guardian raid boss that is going to require a 1450 item level. And then what's also labeled under tentative is our first Legion raid, Valtan. Now this is normal and hard mode, and it only specifically mentions needing a 1450, which I think is just the item level required for normal. So I'm not exactly sure what hard is going to be, but this is the first big raid of the game. The Legion raids are essentially what are said to be what saved Lost Ark, and the developers of Smilegate have talked about this multiple times as getting players into Legion raids is what keeps these players playing the game. And getting these Legion raids is essentially where a lot of players from other regions say that the game gets really good. So this is that first big raiding content that I think a lot of players are waiting for. Now at the end here, they also mentioned that some of the stuff can change. They're going to keep listening to players to see if they need to change stuff. Some of it, like I mentioned, is already labeled under tentative. So it's not 100% set in stone, at least the stuff in May. Then they also mention after April and May, there will also be sharing a summer roadmap, which I'm also very excited for because there is also a summer event in the other regions of the game that you can get some pretty cool looking skin sets, what you would expect from a summer event. And then you can get a bunch of blow up weapon skins that look really cool. Like specifically with the Berserker, you get a big blow up shark as your weapon. So tons of really cool stuff that we can expect in summer. But that's pretty much all the information we have for our April and May roadmap. I'm personally pretty content with this roadmap. I would like to see more of the other events that are going to be in the game, because we currently have 2 events running right now to infuse more materials into the game. I'm wondering how consistently we're going to be having other events up. And I'm also pretty curious what's actually coming with South Vern. Like I mentioned, are we going to be getting the South Vern Chaos Dungeons? I would say that's pretty much a guarantee that we're getting those, but we're not sure if we're getting the bridge that we went over. So I'm very curious on that as well. But that's all I want to go over with the first Lost Ark roadmap. So subscribe if you want to see more Lost Ark or other MMO videos. Leave a like if you liked the video. Leave a comment down below what you guys think about all this new content we're getting. And thanks for watching.